Hey, what's happening, guys? Today we're going to take it all the way back to the beginning to electronics 001, not even 101. Because I had somebody ask me last week, they said they were a complete beginner and did not know where they could get started. So I am going to show you today where to get started. And what we're going to talk about is the most important thing you'll ever learn in electronics. It is called Ohm's Law. Okay? And I cannot stress to you how important Ohm's law is. Ohm's law, and we're going to get into it in a second, is like Einstein's theory. You know, E equals mc squared. So energy, E, equals mass times the speed of light squared. Well, for electronics, what we have is E equals I times R, and that is Ohm's law. So Ohm's law, as we just said, E equals I times R. So let's talk about what these are, first of all, and then we'll talk about their relationships. E stands for electromotive force. We just call it voltage. In the Far East, they tend to refer to it as pressure. And pressure is a good analog to what voltage does. What you want to think of it in your head as this: voltage, electromotive force, pressure, is kind of like pressure that starts the electrons flowing, okay? This is the motivator in the electronic circuit, whatever, whatever it is that we're doing. Okay, so we talked about E. Now let's talk about I. I actually stands for intensity. Its unit is the ampere, which we just kind of call an amp. Now, what we want you to think of for intensity is this is the rate at which the electrons are flowing. Okay? And its symbol is A, amps. Well, that leaves us with one more thing, and that is R, and that is for resistance. And its symbol is the Greek letter omega, but you may also see lower values simply written as R. And it is the electron flow inhibitor. And what, yeah, we'll just leave it at that for now. All right, so we now know that Ohm's law's formula, E equals I times R. E is the voltage, symbol V. And this is what starts the process. Then we have I, the intensity, unit is the ampere, that is the amp, and it is the rate. Finally, we have R, that is resistance, symbol is omega, and that is our flow inhibitor. Now, let me show you an easy way to think about this. All right, so we talked about Ohm's law's formula, E equals I times R, and we talked about what each of the parts are. Now let me show you the Ohm's law triangle. So this is the Ohm's law triangle. E on top, I on the lower left, R on the lower right. So let's say you need to solve for E. Well, to solve for E, these two are right next to each other. We just multiply them. So as we know from up here, E equals I times R. Well, what if we need to know what R is? R is E divided by I. And what is I? E divided by R. So we'll just put this one in here too. E equals I times R. So there's all of our formulas. And if you know any two, you can find the third. So now that you know all this, let's put a little problem out there and see if we can solve it. All right. So again, we're still talking about Ohm's law here, and here's our triangle. E equals I over R. Now down here is our circuit. Let's start here. We have a 12-volt DC battery. Here we have a 6 ohm resistor. Now these green arrows here indicate the flow of current in the circuit. And what we want to find is what is the current at A. So to solve that, we would say we want to find I at A. So we need to find I. That will be E over R. You with me? So I of A equals 12 divided by 6. I of A equals 2. And what's our unit? A, amps. Now you see how useful that is? Now, there's one way that Ohm's law really is really useful. This resistor here, okay? If this resistor is in an active circuit, you can't measure it, but we can solve for it. Let me show you. Okay, so this time, what we don't know, I'm gonna find the button to make my little thing show up. There we go. What we don't know is the value of R. So R equals E over I. Now, as you can see here, we put a multimeter in series with our circuit. And if we follow the current coming from the positive terminal of the battery, it flows here, flows out of the battery, through here. It is going to flow through the meter because it is in series. It is part of the circuit. Back through the circuit, through the resistor, and back into the battery. So now we can come over here and we can say R is equal to E over I. R is equal to 25 divided by 5 because we know our current in the circuit. So R equals 5 ohms. I hope this is making sense to you, because if you're going to get into electronics, this is going to be possibly the most important thing you have to do, is be able to calculate these kind of on the fly. You know two, you got to find the third. This is the basics to all electronics. So I hope this made some sense to you, and I'm going to give you a little bonus if you stick around after this. Guys, this is my Patreon page, and we have 192 patrons who have pledged $431 a month. I have 3 tiers. All I ask is $1 a month. Check it out. We have posts. We have a monthly meeting where we get together and just talk about whatever comes up with us. Anyway, my Patreon is patreon.com/learnelectronics. Check it out if you're interested. Okay, so we've talked about all the different things, whoops, we could do with the Ohm's law triangle. I didn't mean to draw there. Trying to show you where the triangle was. But there's one thing we haven't talked about, and that's power. It doesn't fit in the triangle. Power is expressed as watts, symbol W. And the formula for power is P equals V, which is in our case E, times I. So voltage times resistance equals power. So let's say we have a circuit here, and our E is 10 volts. Our resistance is 1 ohm. What is the power of this circuit? Well, the first thing that you're going to have to figure out is what is the value of I. So we know I equals E times R. I equals 10 divided by 1. I equals 1. So power equals 10 times 1 in this case. Power equals 10 watts. And that's as far as we're going to go today. I think that's enough to get you started in thinking about Ohm's law. If you enjoyed this, I hope that you'll give me a thumbs up. Feel free to comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks to all the sponsors and patrons, and a big thanks to you for watching. That's it. I'm out. Peace, my friend.